Something that sticks out to me is that one message that you had told me one time where you said like tough men create.
So tough, tough time create tough men.
There we go.
Tough men create
Easy time.
easy times.
Yep.
Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times.
Mm-hmm. It's a cycle.
Yeah, and I think that's we're seeing that like right before our eyes. But another thing I think also is whatever's going on like inside of you is really what you see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if there's a storm going on inside of you, you think everything's falling down.
Yep.
But if you're at peace, then you're like, oh man, everything's cool. You know, so it's like really what's inside of us. What do you feel about that, Ray?
Yeah, I think you're right in that whatever's going on inside of you is going to affect the way that you see the world. But I think sometimes, you know, if we're asked to look at the world, let's just stay on God and Jesus, right? Like the God or Jesus that I read about was always helping people. I don't think he really partied much except for that one time when he turned water into wine.
It was an awesome
pretty
time.
Cool, you know?
Mm.
But I think he was always looking to help somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that
Gentleman.
well, I don't know. Maybe just
I
a
think
person
a
who
gentleman
wants
is
to help.
always looking to help.
The first
you know?
gentleman.
He just wants to help somebody, right? And I think that if once you help somebody, or at least the people that in the Bible that I was reading that he was helping, you can't. The next step, and now I'm getting outside of the Bible, is saying why was that person in need, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes even whatever level of peace you have inside of you, once you realize that people are in need and start to see the systems and the reasons why they're in need or haven't been able, why they need help, you can't help but feel a little bit angry, and that little bit of a storm kind of
As you start to
ignites inside of you. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if we're going to stay
Good
on the
point.
Bible, like God literally died on the cross because he spent his short life trying to improve the lives of others in spite of the other people who would have liked to say, well, everything's great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great for a lot of people,
Yeah.
you know? So I think we live in a world that wants us to be very binary and make binary choices. And I think that you can have both things at the same time. You can have inner turmoil and moments of peace, and that can be reflective in your view of the world.
You can be calm through the storm. Like you could have a lot going on, but you can still be at peace.
And vice versa. It can be stormy during calm, right? So if we're going to be allegorical and sorry, not allegorical, but use analogies and whatnot. So
Yeah.
all those things they're all.
Tone it down, thesaurus.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
I think like, you know, by us being, you know, in my eyes, better gentlemen, and like when people see you do good character things, it provides hope for them. Like, dang, man, I guess not everybody's that bad. You know, like for instance,
It's like picking up a piece of trash.
yeah. Well, I was on my way here. Check this out today. And as I go to pull into the gas station off of State Road 54, this guy is like in the middle, like just not moving. And at first, my first reaction was like, what is he doing?
Get the fuck out of the way, man.
And then I was like, immediately I was like, oh, he's broke down, like obviously. So I went like around him, you know, and I parked my truck, and then I just asked him real quickly. I'm like, hey man, do you need help? And he's like, yeah, man, I need to push this in here. So I was like, yo, just put it in neutral, bam, push this car. It took me like 15 seconds.
And
You know,
probably
and now-
50
now-
cars drove by you in that time.
Bro, and honestly, this is not the
opportunities
first.
for people to say, I could do that too.
This is not the first time that this has happened. Like I've seen it happen a couple months ago. So maybe that stuck in my mind. So when I saw him, I did it again. You know, it's like just, you know, push it. But I have the time because I followed God and he freed me. I have the time to do this show because and everything that's happening because I follow God. You know, like you know, it all ties together. It all ties together to some degree, and I think a lot of times people don't realize.
I always joke. I think God would want you to give yourself more credit.
Well, all glory to God.
Yeah.
You got to get it off you. That's another thing. Remember we were talking about that with you know. Oh, this. All right, let's switch subjects. Like,
Yeah.
But this is something that was really that I've really admired about Ray is, man, you went. when we grew up as childhood friends. Like we knew each other when we were 8, 9 years old. All of us.
We've known each other for a really, really, really long time.
We grew up in the
quite
same
unusual,
complex.
actually.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I saw Ray say, "I don't want to do a normal everyday job. Like I want to do what I'm passionate about. I want to do what I love." And now he's the editor-in-chief for Creative Loafing. And I saw you I remember one time you had reached out to me about the Postal Service. And I was like, I'm so glad that you did not take that job and you continued on your path. You know, because there's
part of
times
me
where
would have liked. I remember you were working in the Postal Service. You had 2 houses at one time, didn't you?
something like that.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's not about like money. It's about the fulfillment. You know, and I always admired that about you, man. And then I see Ray like going to shows and I think, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, I think you kind of started by following bands and writing about bands.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's pretty much how I got into it.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed music and live music, and I think my live music habit became a problem because it's also a bar problem. Because I like to drink when I go to shows.
Are you still drinking a lot?
No, not really. I mean, I still drink. Like I had some beers last night.
Yeah.
When I go to a concert, I like to have a beer. Although last big one I went to, I did not, which was interesting. But so
what was that big one?
It was Bruce Springsteen.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah. So I would go and I'd be spending money. So basically, it's like, hey man, you're spending too much money. Had to figure out a way to write about it. I was at newspaper in college, so I started writing about music, and then here we are.
Bro, it's so incredible, man. And I really think that you're a major part, you know, give yourself some credit here to the growth in Tampa, to write about, you know, these musicians that come to town, to write about these local musicians that people don't know about. You know, I mean, we have, like, I don't think people realize how great our music scene is in Tampa. Like, we have an incredible music scene, and these guys have been going hard for years. But what got us on that subject is we were talking about Chris Gamato. We were going to talk about him. I forgot exactly what we were going to say to mention that. But he said something. He came on here from Displace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was the tied
He's
in.
got his music school.
Yeah, he
Right.
has his music
Yep.
school, man. His band is like doing really well. I've been following him, man.
Did they play the Jam Cruise, or is he just on the Jam Cruise?
They played it.
Okay.
They played it. Yeah, Jam Cruise is like a big deal, man. Like I want to do that, man. Have you ever been on Jam Cruise?
I don't think I could pull off a Jam Cruise in my life, just because I have a family at the house and they got to get taken care of. And if I give myself a 4-day music vacation, I just don't know that that's going to be fair. You know?
I feel you.
Like,
I feel you. What? See,
you know, like,
good man. This is a good man.
I would love to. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Yeah.
I used to loathe the idea of a music cruise, but the more I see them and the more I see the kinds of bands, and maybe I'm just getting older and the way I love to consume music is changing, but man, what a great way to everybody loves music festivals. Like, why not do one with an all-you-can-eat buffet too?
Ooh.
You know?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
I'm lost in the sauce. So what are you guys talking about?
So like Jam Cruise, music cruises, bands that go on these cruises, which typically are 3 or 4 days, and they have a destination like a traditional cruise. And for the most part, the bands are on the boat with you. There's multiple stages, and, you know, cruises have like clubs and stuff. So it's pretty cool. I mean, because now they're usually themed with like genres and stuff like that. So there's a Camayo cruise, I think, which is kind of Americana. There's metal cruises now. There's a Flogging Molly cruise. Like, everybody has a cruise, you know? And I think it goes back to communal experiences and the things that people are want and need in their life.
Sure.
You know, and some people want to be on a fucking boat for 4 days.
Yeah, listening to music.
Yeah, with other
playing
musicians.
it, or playing it, you know?
Exactly. So and that's how they do that. And Lord knows musicians need every opportunity to make money. So,
well, Scamato was telling us too that he got to play with some of his favorite musicians by doing that. Like, before, you know, this is his first year that he brought his band Displace on the Jam Cruise, but he used to go by himself all the time. And he's like, man, I would just sit there and wait with my horn. And he's like, yo, they'd be like, yo, come up, man. Or with his sax, you know. And then
it's funny that the places that you see Chris, because you never expect to see him, because you know him as in this band.
Yeah.
But he plays with so
humble,
many people.
dude.
And like, I remember I was at a New Year's party and I was in this club and I was like, oh, it's Chris playing the saxophone. But that's to your point, like the musicians we have here institutionally and within the little scenes, they work really hard and they're everywhere and they're very talented.
Very talented, man. We're very fortunate, man. But I really love that, and I think what Creative Loafing does ties in with us, and that's another reason why I wanted to bring you on the show as well. Not only because we grew up together and we have a relationship, but the fact that you guys have been lifting the city by putting the spotlight on all these great people for years. And here comes the better gents, la da da, like here we are, and now we've been kind of merging into that. Like I'm like, man, let's focus on the Brianna Tams, let's focus on the K3s, the Chris Gamados, like and whoever else, like as we go, we want to put that spotlight on them. We want to hear their story. Chris came on here, man. What episode was that, Chris? Do you know those episodes? I'd like to name those. What number that was?
Was it like 40s or 50s? I mean, we're up to 97.
I'd like to be accurate with it.
You're gonna have to put the YouTube link in the video.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we should.
I'll put a little
bubble, right?
Yeah, there it is.
But he had a great philosophical view of life through music, and man, he just came on here and shared so much with us. I'm sorry, my mind is like all over the place, but I also think about the St. Paul and the Broken Bones, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we saw them at Crowbar.
Bro, I
think that was for my birthday. It was around this time of the year.
Yes.
I think we were at a hockey game before that, right?
I didn't even remember that, but the St. Paul and the Broken Bones did stick out to me. I'm pretty sure we did though. I used to go hard. I used to drink hard, all the time. Everywhere I went, I had to have a drink.
I think you partied harder than all of us.
I believe so.
Much,
I would say that.
But I
That's
just
that pendulum swing.
Yeah.
The other
There it
direction now.
But the St. Paul and the Broken Bones, I remember going to that show at Crowbar. Crowbar is a wonderful venue. We've talked about it on here as well. Tom DeGeorge runs that, which I would love to have him on the show at some point.
I'm sure Tom would love to come on here.
He can, because he can talk, and he has a great perspective, and he's been lifting the city for years. During the pandemic,
He was my second boss.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I worked at his nightclub called The Masquerade when I was 19 years old. It was my first job in live music.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So if people are not from here, you have to check out the Crowbar when you come to Tampa. When you come to Tampa, Florida, go down to the Crowbar. You're going to get some of the best local music and acts from all over the nation he gets here as well.
Yep, he's got a very busy calendar, and Tom was part of an effort to secure several $1 billion from the federal government during the pandemic relief.
Oh, yes.
And really picked live entertainment venues, theaters, including movie theaters and theme parks off the ground.
Wow.
During the pandemic, and was able to dust them off. I think they have a lot of work left to do, as Tom will tell you. But I think the pandemic changed him in that sense, in the way he was able to organize and lobby the federal government for billions of dollars together with everybody else in the National Independent Venue Association right here in Tampa Bay.
Look at that, bro. Like he's a modern day superhero. Like
he's been in the New York Times. It's for those efforts.
Bro, he put the city on his back, and I remember watching it from a distance on social media and watching him fight. Like every day he was posting and he was going hard, man.
He continues to fight every day. That club will face a lot of challenges in the upcoming years, especially as that neighborhood begins to change. John's going to have his wedding in Ybor City.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful venue. And
you had yours in Ybor too.
I had my wedding in Ybor
Where
City.
did you have that at?
Yeah, what was
reception was at the Don Vicente, which is no longer a hotel.
Okay.
It was one of the first socialized hospitals at the time, just because of the barrios and then the way that the community was set up. They would pay in, and they would be able to get health care there. I remember I was at HEC, and I was taking class with somebody who got a rabies shot there because he got bit by a squirrel. But yeah, we had it there. We had a really good time. That was a great
Yes, it was.
wedding. New World Brewery used to be down there, and yep, that's where we had it.
Oh, New World Brewery was just, oh man, I missed that place down there. That was a
location.
staple, man, and
Yeah.
a great location. I know they have
pretty
another.
cool. It's the new place on Skagway is great.
Okay, I haven't been there yet, but I know it's been there for a couple years now,
Yeah,
right?
2 or 3 years. Yep. They got a great show tonight, and people aren't going to see this, but DJ Blenda, Tribal Style. DJ Blenda's turning 50, and he's like a staple of the scene, and he really knows his stuff in terms of like reggae and dub, but has played in a lot of great bands.
Are you going?
If I can get out the house, man.
You gonna take Patrick?
I got a babysitter for today, right now. Yeah, so,
dude, thank you for that. Thank you for
man.
You know, I would have.
I'm grateful to you that you don't have to worry about Patrick running around your studio.
we were gonna mic him up.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
We were thinking about it, man, but
awesome.
you know,
he would have loved it. But yeah, I mean, I'll go if you guys go.
Right on, dude.
Patrick takes a nap. I'll bring him too.
Maybe that will be me celebrating my birthday. Yeah,
it's David's birthday tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
You won't see this until after his birthday, but we should put David's
well, you might
website in there.
Well,
you got a tip jar? You guys got a tip jar?
Yeah, this episode comes out Sunday, so yeah.
Oh, it'll be right there.
A couple days, or one day, yeah.
Let's talk about your birthday, man. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, my birthday is.
Don't get shy now.
Well, you know, like I told you guys, I don't really like celebrate my birthday too much. Like maybe not like I used to. You know, it used to be like a party, a celebration. You know, drinking, you know, all that stuff. If I wanted to go see a show, that was probably what I would do. Speaking of that, you know, I'm gonna deflect and put this off of me. But tropical heat wave, what happened to that?
The tropical heat wave is back.
It's back, okay. And that was, if you could explain to people.
That's a long-standing tradition. WMNF is a community radio station based in Tampa Bay that's been around for over 40 years. And for a long time, they're really famous for tropical heat wave, which at one point expanded to multiple venues up and down Ybor, you know, always based in the Cuban Club, a historic building down there. Would take over the Orpheum, Crowbar, to so many different stages, and usually up and coming bands would play. There's legend that one time they almost had the White Stripes back in the day. I've seen Carolina Chocolate Drops over there. A lot of bands that you would see before they break, you know, were there, and it was really cool. And I think it took a break for a while. The music festival game is really, really, really difficult.
Tricky right now.
Prices are insane, and you know, bands have agents that handle their festivals and agents that handle their club dates. And I think it's tough for a nonprofit entity like WMNF, but it's back. They have a one-day festival happening. I think it's like 16 bands, including this band Glove. They're like I don't know, I would call them new wave-ish, but a little bit harder with like some darker EBM vibes, a lot of synth. But they never play Tampa. They're from Tampa. They've played with Jack White, Nation of Language, so many great bands, but they're going to play, so it should be pretty cool. I think anything that brings people to Ybor for the arts is very important, especially going forward as that neighborhood will begin to become more residential, and I anticipate folks not wanting a little bit less of that in that neighborhood, and everything changes, but it would be sad to see that neighborhood turning down, you know. It would. Yeah,
it would, because that's kind of like, you know, that's where people go to enjoy themselves, and it's a staple for that, you know. And I think originally wasn't Ybor City, like, you know, ran by the mafia, like back in the day.
Some would argue it's still run by the mafia.
Yeah,
but,
true.
No, I mean, I think Ybor itself has gone through a lot of changes. There've been a lot of, it used to be a really neighborhood type of thing. You could read about when they built the interstate right through the middle of Ybor and what happened then. There's some old school aerial shots of before and after, and it's like a bomb went off, you know? So, but Ybor has a rich history of being a place where people who weren't necessarily accepted in Tampa found a home and made a home. And, you know, you want to talk about different types of tribalism and people getting along, you know, Cubans and Italians and Germans and immigrants had to figure out how to get along in there because they didn't have a place in the greater part of Tampa. You know, there's a good column in this newspaper called La Gaceta, and Patrick Manteiga writes about how the night parade was actually a response by the Latin community to have their own Gasparilla parade because they weren't included in the main Gasparilla parade. So Ybor has that rich history of being a place for quote-unquote outcasts or people who don't belong. And I think when you go, anybody that goes to Ybor after a certain hour in the evening will definitely know that, hey, there's a mix of people here that is not my normal thing, but it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
When they're all walking up and down the street. You can walk by the castle one day. You know, back in the day, you would walk by Empire, or you go by Prana now, or even Crowbar. You know, like
Orpheum. There's an Orpheum down there.
Orpheum moved out now.
Oh, they moved out.
Yep.
Okay.
So they're in North Tampa. But yeah, you get some. Ybor's beautiful.
It is. It is. And that's another thing that sticks out to me about Ray is one of the things you said a long time ago when you had first started your career is you're like, I just love Tampa and I want everybody to know how awesome Tampa is.
I think everybody knows now. That's
everybody knows now. Yeah. Thank you, Creative Loafing.
No,
I'm just
no. I don't know what it is. I mean, everybody is moving to Tampa. We all know that. I mean, the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics says we have the highest rate of inflation in the country right now, and so and that's outside of regular inflation in the country. So everybody's moving here. I think it's becoming more competitive. Everybody knows what a great geographical place Tampa is. So hopefully we can continue to spread the gospel of what makes Tampa special and hold on to as much of that as possible. I mean, change is inevitable, but you don't have to lose your character. And
speaking of, I want to ask you this: you might know something about it, because I'm always worried about change with Janice landing down there. Are they? Is that okay there? Or are they?
I don't know a lot, but I mean, I would just look at the track history of it. I mean,
because it's a legendary concert venue.
It is, and it's on
the way
first
it's
block.
set up. It's beautiful. I mean, there's not a lot like that. I don't even know anywhere else.
I mean,
you can go.
it's a very unique
the way it's set
venue.
up in between the buildings and the sound echoes as you.
I would say St. Petersburg's a little bit different in the way that they protect their historical structures. That very block is called First Block, and you'll notice that on that block, nothing's bigger than 2 stories. I mean, they've preserved that block. It might be kind of weird and crazy sometimes on certain Fridays, but I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything about Janice being in jeopardy. I hope it's not. Janice is really
I'm just
cool.
always worried about that, because
think
they're
you should
coming
be.
in and they're buying all this stuff. But maybe speaking of that, to capture that thought, maybe Tampa needs to focus more on protecting our territory.
I think
as
Tampa
well.
likes to talk about how they support the arts, but I think you could always do more to protect and support the arts and nightclubs and things like that. So we'll see how it plays out in Ybor. We're going to see, we saw noise ordinance get fought back, and it'll be interesting to see as that neighborhood changes.
How you doing over there, John? I'm sorry.
I could talk my ass off.
Well, no, but that's why you're great for a podcast. This is perfect, man. We need people that like to talk, right?
Full of myself. I could do it all day.
Yeah, right. You are not. You are not, man.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You can catch all of our episodes on YouTube and Spotify at Better Gents Podcast, and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Better Gents Pod. Thank you and take care.